Minimum significance level of total ischemic burden. A. 1 hour in 24 hours. B. 2 hours in 24 hours. C. 3 hours in 24 hours. D. 5 hours in 24 hours. Correct answer A. 1 hour in 24 hours. Total ischemic burden is the sum total of all episodes of silent and manifest ischemic events usually detected on 24-hour Holter monitoring. An episode of ischemia is ST segment deviation on Holter which lasts at least 1 minute. Total ischemic burden of more than 1 hour during a day is significant. It may be noted that silent myocardial ischemia is as important as or even more important than manifest ischemia regarding prognosis. It could be dangerous as the individual is not warned by the pain so that he may continue to exert during the episode leading to catastrophic results. Many with silent myocardial infarctions may present later with heart failure due to absence of a diagnosis and early treatment. Current recommended anticoagulant for those with mechanical prosthetic valve. A. Dabigatran. B. Apixaban. C. Warfarin. D. None of the above. Correct answer C. Warfarin. Though the novel oral anticoagulants have a lower risk of intracranial bleeding than warfarin, they have not been approved for use in those with mechanical prosthetic valves. As of date, warfarin is still the recommendation of choice in those with mechanical prosthetic valves. This is because mechanical prosthetic valves are highly thrombogenic and needs warfarin, which acts at multiple levels on the coagulation cascade. First phase of ventricular fibrillation is known as A. Electrical phase, B. Hemodynamic phase, C. Metabolic phase, D. None of the above. Correct answer A. Electrical phase. Electrical phase, initial 4 minutes of VF. Hemodynamic phase, 4 minutes to 10 minutes after the onset of VF. Metabolic phase, beyond 10 minutes after the onset of VF. If emergency medical service arrives within 4 minutes, that is in the electrical phase, defibrillation first, as it is likely to be coarse VF and responds better to defibrillation. If after 4 minutes but before 10 minutes, cardiopulmonary resuscitation followed by defibrillation. If beyond 10 minutes, success of resuscitation is limited. Factors predicting stroke after CABG. A. Presence of intracerebral and extracerebral atherosclerotic disease. B. Demonstration of previous stroke by imaging. C. Atheromatous disease of the aorta. D. All of the above. Correct answer D. All of the above. Aortic plaques have a high chance of embolization while cannulating the aorta for cardiopulmonary bypass. Avoiding cardiopulmonary bypass with off-pump CABG may have an edge over conventional on-pump CABG in this situation. Previous history of stroke or transient ischemic attacks within the previous 6 months is an important risk factor for perioperative stroke. Though the chance for stroke is lesser with percutaneous coronary intervention at 30 days and 1 year, the rates of stroke rather catches up by 5 years, indicating a basic predisposition which manifests in due time. Which of the following is not a pointer to graft failure after CABG? A. Electrocardiographic signs of myocardial ischemia. B. Ventricular arrhythmias. C. 2 times elevation of CPK. D. New wall motion abnormalities noted on echocardiography. Correct answer C. 2 times elevation of CPK. 5 times elevation of CPK is the cutoff level for post-CABG myocardial infarction. In addition to this, hemodynamic instability could be a pointer of graft failure. Golub score and modified Golub score have been proposed for the risk stratification of A. Long QT syndrome, B. Short QT syndrome, C. Brugada syndrome, D. Early repolarization syndrome. Correct answer B. Short QT syndrome. The Golub scoring system allots points for shortening of QT interval, shortening of J point to T peak interval, clinical history, family history, and genotype. A score of 4 or more is considered to confer high probability, 3 points an intermediate probability, and 2 or less points a low probability. The scoring system has been modified by the same group in pediatric patients. Which of the following is a PCSK9 inhibitor? A. Rituximab, B. Alirocumab, C. Infliximab, D. Abciximab. Correct answer B. Alirocumab. Alirocumab and Evolocumab are PCSK9 inhibitors. PCSK9 inhibitors have been approved by US FDA in those whom hypercholesterolemia is not controlled with diet and maximally tolerated statin treatment, if they have clinically manifest atherosclerotic disease like stroke or myocardial infarction. Alirocumab can be given as a self-administered subcutaneous injection once in 2 weeks using a pre-filled pen. Alirocumab, when added to atorvastatin, reduced LDL cholesterol significantly better than that produced by adding ezetimibe or doubling the dose of statin. A recent meta-analysis has documented that PCSK9 inhibitors Evolocumab and Alirocumab are safe and well tolerated. They reduced LDL cholesterol levels by more than 50% and increased HDL cholesterol levels. LDL receptors in the liver are involved in removing LDL cholesterol from the blood. PCSK9 binds to LDL receptors in the liver, making them targets for lysosomal degradation. Inhibition of PCSK9 makes more LDL receptors available in liver for removing LDL cholesterol from the blood. New feature in 2015 revision of Jones criteria for acute rheumatic fever by American Heart Association. A. Inclusion of echocardiography for diagnosis of subclinical carditis. B. Inclusion of monoarthritis as a major criterion in moderate to high risk populations. C. Inclusion of polyarthralgia as a major criterion in moderate to high risk populations. D. All of the above. Correct answer D. All of the above. Salient feature of 2015 revision of Jones criteria by AHA is the inclusion of echocardiography for diagnosis of subclinical carditis. All the other points listed above have also been added in the specific context. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for future updates and click on the bell icon for all updates. Thank you.